The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday.
Wednesday after a Clowncil meeting.
Clowncil meeting, that's right. And boy, what a meeting, huh?
What a meeting that was, I'll tell you now.
What a meeting, what a meeting.
And of course, I had to go give some citizens input, and I made people squirm.
Yeah, you don't, please, do not go to a government meeting and remind the government how the government's actually supposed to be. That's a no-no, especially in the city of Fall River. Please don't remind them that we live in a republic. We pledge allegiance to the democracy. Oh, wait a minute.
It was a lot of fun, though, last night when you watch some of this stuff going on.
Oh.
And, you know, before we get into some of the news stories, I have to cover some of the items that were on the agenda for yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's got to be the first thing we talk about here. And here was the agenda. It was 6 pages long after being amended. So,
yeah.
Now, here was an interesting part. Let's go back to Monday. Monday night, they had two committees that met, the Committee on Real Estate and the Committee on Health and Environmental Affairs. Now, during the Committee on Real Estate, the chairman, Richard Cabaceres, asked specifically for specific documents from corporate counsel, from attorney Joe Macy. Notice I said attorney.
That's right.
And Joe Macy said no.
Which I find obviously very difficult to comprehend, because I think Attorney Macy has forgotten that he actually is the city corporation counsel, and he's down there to assist the council. And when a chairman of a committee asks him for information, I believe he's actually legally obligated to get that information. Joe Macy has evolved into a third part of the government. I mean, technically in a city, we don't have a judicial branch. The corporation council merely formulates legal opinions for the governing bodies, which are the mayor, the executive branch, and the legislative branch. But he's created the judicial branch. He's like the United States Supreme Court, which obviously on a federal level, we have a tripartite system. They do have power because they are the ultimate judicial power. And anything they give, any decision they render is final. Final judicial opinion. Can go no farther, which makes them an entity. Unfortunately, Attorney Macy always qualifies his answers with, "It's my opinion," because he's fully aware that his opinion is like every other anal sphincter. It's only an opinion.
That's it.
It's only an opinion. And the fact is that doesn't make him a governmental agency, an entity. He's just a lawyer now. He may be the city's lawyer or the mayor's lawyer, but he's not the Supreme Court of the United States. And I think that, you know, that chairman, Mr. Cabaceres, should file a complaint.
Well, I agree. And I also believe firmly that this insubordination was carried over from that meeting onto the city council meeting. Because he said very clearly that his job is to do what's in the best interest of the city. If the city council says, no, we want you to do this, you're supposed to do it. They're ordering it.
And so you see, this is, again, he's extrapolated, he's creating his own job description.
Right.
It's not his job. Your attorney does not have the discretion to do what he thinks is in the best interest. He's supposed to do, you're the client.
That's right.
If you tell your lawyer, this is what I want you to do, he can advise you that I don't think it's the proper way to do this. I don't think this is the right course of action. But guess what? He works for you. And guess what? I hate to say it, but you reminded him again yesterday. This is a republic. They represent us. And guess what? He doesn't get to choose. He is an attorney for the city. But the duly elected, he's not elected. The duly elected government officials are the people who basically tell him what to do. He doesn't get to go, I won't do that. He can get up in front of the council and say, I don't think it's the best course of action. But last night again, he basically categorically refused to do anything they say. In other words, I'm only going to do what I want to do. Well, guess what? You know what happens to most attorneys in all attorneys in a private sector? When they do not do what their client tells them to do, they get fired.
And a councilor made a point of that last night. City Councilor Pereira, City Council Vice President Camara, turned around and said, if I was Donald Trump, you would be fired. And immediately he said, but I'm not fired. It was like, yeah.
Because I'm the mayor's boy.
That's right.
And the mayor didn't fire me. Only the mayor can fire me. Well, guess what? You don't make the rules. The city council makes the rules, and the mayor makes the rules. You are not an elected official. And you may feel duty-bound, or you may feel morally obligated that something they're asking you to do is not in the best interest of the city. Well, you have every right to go in front of the council and say, I do not believe this is in the best interest of the city.
Correct.
And then if you truly believe that, then you have to make a choice of executing your duties as the corporation counsel and litigating it in the manner you were told, or just say, I refuse to litigate this, find somebody else, and then you may get fired. But guess what? It's not your job to make the rules. You're not a judge anymore, Joe. You're a lawyer, and you're a city lawyer. And those people, whether you like it or not, are your boss. When you're sitting in that well talking to a chairman of a subcommittee, you're there in your capacity to answer questions and then do what you're told. And if you want to render your opinion, you have every right to render your opinion. But you don't get to say, I won't do that. You can say, I don't think it's your position, but then we need a ruling, because I'll remind you again, you're not the Supreme Court of the United States. You're just another lawyer, just another anal sphincter flapping its sphincter. And it's an opinion. And if there's a disagreement, guess what? You have to go to court and find out who's right and who's wrong. You don't get to say, I'm the judicial branch. You're not the judicial branch. You're the corporation counsel.
I know it's crazy.
It's disturbing.
It is.
We've actually lost our government between the charter that we have, that every day they turn around and decide what parts they're going to agree with, what parts they're going to rewrite, and what parts they're going to ignore. It's absurd. We have no government left because...
And this is the problem, okay? And we spoke to a former charter commissioner before the show, because priority matter number 1, which was 1E, Manuel Leet to the Conservation Commission. Mr. Leet serves on the Board of Elections. According to the charter, you can only serve in one office. It doesn't define what an office is. It doesn't. The charter did not. See, and this is the problem with the charter. Thank you, Mike Mayoza. You did it again. There's no definition to what these things are. So a former charter commissioner told us, no, he can't serve because it's only one job. One person per committee. That's it. You can only serve on one committee. You can't. And this guy already serves on, I believe, 2 committees. Now he wants to serve on a 3rd. Why? Because the mayor wants these people in these positions because he owns them. He owns them. They're slaves to the mayor. Because they're political what? What are they? They're political whores? Oh my God!
No, wait a minute. We got to use the
butt monkeys.
Butt monkeys.
They're butt monkeys now.
Butt monkeys.
They're butt monkeys now. And this is what happens. Speaking of butt monkeys, priority matter 1B, Cheryl Costa to the Commission on Disability. She was voted down, I believe 6-3 or 7-2 or something along that lines. And the reason why she was brought up by Councilor Ray Mitchell, who said she was escorted out of this chamber using vulgarities. And several of us can remember that day she was escorted out of the chamber. But also what came up was the fact that her Facebook postings are not kind. She's not being kind in her Facebook postings. She's on the Disability Commission, and she allegedly made these comments about Ray Mitchell that, well, he's suffering early Alzheimer's. If you're on the Disability Commission, you're not supposed to be doing things like that.
Yeah, well,
and even though a member of the Disability Commission thinks that she would have been a good fit for the Disability Commission, as soon as he found out about these other things, he was like, well, I don't know, I haven't heard them. But you would have to question whether or not that person should be on the Disability Commission.
Yeah, well, I mean, no one should make those comments anyway. You know, Alzheimer's disease is a tremendously difficult disease, you know, on the families and everybody else concerned with those things. And those kind of comments are inappropriate for anybody.
That's right.
Yet, let alone someone who's being nominated for a disability. Now, obviously, I didn't hear the comments, and since I don't really do Facebook, I've never watched.
Well, I've
never seen her Facebook postings. But the fact is that, look, the Disability Commission has all of these things, especially the Disability Commission.
And people should realize.
Should have people up there that, number one, understand the issues and who are sensitive to the issues. And you know, I mean, if this person is insensitive, I mean, that's not a good committee to put her on. Maybe if we have a committee on insensitivity, she could be the chairman. I don't know.
But the thing is that people will use Facebook against you. It's been said over and over again. Employers look at Facebook. They look at social media, they look at your Twitter, they look at your Instagram, they look at your Facebook. They know what's going on. If you're going to post hateful comments, and some of the hateful comments this woman has posted, and I've seen them, are against Colin Dias, who is a youth. He's a teenager.
Ute?
He's a youth. Where are those youths from?
Yeah.
But he's a teenager. And instead of, you know, he's allowed to voice his opinion, and I'm not saying that Ms. Costa isn't allowed to voice her opinion. But when you are in a position or in the running for a position of city government, you've got to curtail your opinions. Well, you've got to roll it back. Look, and if you can't do that, you don't belong in the opinion of the position.
And you know, I blame you know, our society. And the fact is that employers look at Facebook, but they look at your comments more at Facebook than the comments about you, hopefully. But I mean, this is the problem. We are in now the age of the accusation.
Right.
All they have to do is levy some comment about you, and you know, look at all of the issues with the sexual harassment. Now, all they have to do, if it's 30 years old and a career has come to an end, and there are a few people fighting it, but most people just go, oh, you know, what's inappropriate? You know, we live in the age of political correctness, and it's you know, they can put anything they want on Facebook. You know, they can say that this is their opinion, but their opinion, nobody fact checks these things.
Nope.
And they just throw these accusations out, and all it is their opinion, and they're entitled to them. But guess what? That's why I don't respond to stuff like that.
I don't respond to them either.
Because it's like, you know, you want to say things that, you know, I mean, I know I've been accused of everything, probably all the way up to sinking the Lusitania, and, you know, and people do that, but guess what?
I heard you're responsible for Lindbergh's baby.
That's right, and I'll tell you what, I'll stand by every statement I ever made, because, you know, if you want to say that I threw things under the bus or I did something, well, just prove it wrong. I will put my record of accomplishment in anything I've ever done, you know, and I'll match it with these people who make these statements about it, because I have my opinions too, but I don't have to put them on Facebook. Unlike them, I'll do it face to face. If I think somebody's not doing a good job, I will tell them. and anybody else, but not on Facebook, because to me, that is the realm for cowards. That is the realm for the Facebook commandos. They don't have enough courage to stand up and say that, because then if they're in front of you, you may be able to call them and say, well, wait a minute, let's look at your record of accomplishments and my record of accomplishments. Let's look what I've done and what you've done.
Right.
And let's look at who is telling the truth and who's not telling the truth, or who's manipulating the truth. This is the problem with all this crap, because all they ever do is talk. And then when you pin them down, it's like, oh, well, now they're gonna backtrack. The fact is that there's far too much of this. And then when you give people like this total control, and that's basically what we're looking at here. We're looking at a takeover of our government, because they're basically telling the city council that they basically can't do anything unless they get approval from the law department and from the mayor. And, so what good is it? Where are the people in this equation? And as you said at yesterday's meeting, this is a republic, and I know you read them, their most distasteful section of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts' Constitution, part of the first Section 5. I know they hate that, but it's true. We are supposed to have a say in our government, and they're doing everything.
Not with this charter.
They're doing everything they can. Well, this is
not with this charter, that's for sure.
Well, this charter is a charter that has 3 parts. They have the part they want to enforce because it benefits them. They have the part that they want to ignore because it doesn't benefit them. And they have the other part that they have to, they have a sliding scale of interpretations, and Joe Macy gets to interpret those parts for the good of the mayor. And this charter is an absolute, it's a catastrophe. We said it from the get-go. I have never seen such a deplorable attack on the rights of the public, and it flies in the face of government. And there was only one commissioner who was against virtually every single thing. And it wasn't because he was an obstructionist. It was because he was speaking.
He was informed.
He was speaking. He was informed, and he was speaking for the people. He saw this for what it was, and he was the only one. But then again, I had a conversation a few days ago with somebody about the charter, and he said, "Well, just look at the makeup of the committee. Most of them were all, to coin your phrase, most of them were all political butt monkeys."
That's it.
So yeah, we knew from the beginning how this thing was going to turn out. That's why we opposed it.
And it's sad that that's what our government's come down to.
It is.
But hey, what can you do?
But we'll see. Isn't Attorney Macy gonna now check it out?
That's on Mr. Leeds. That's on Mr. Leeds.
We're gonna see how he interprets the charter. But again, it's only an opinion.
Right.
And again, what are we gonna say? He's gonna look at this, and what did he say? It's a little hard to follow because it's not indexed.
Yeah, it's not indexed.
Really? It's hard to follow?
So,
wow.
But that's on Mr. Leeds' appointment to the Conservation Commission, because the mayor needs that, because the Conservation Commission is going to have a say over whether or not that road can go over the rail trail.
Oh, the rail trail.
So it's going to be interesting.
You mean a rail trail that the mayor said would not go because the people get what they want before the election?
That's right.
But they don't.
After the election, we don't care.
But then they get the salami afterwards.
That's right. Last night they had to take out of order a $50,000 appropriation for a $1 million appropriation that they had already gotten to pay for some borings that are going to be reimbursed 80% by MSBA, because that's a straight 80%. Okay, I'll believe that, no problem. Except for the fact that Steve Camara made it very clear last night that this school project is not going to be 80%. It is going to be approximately 62% or less, depending on how much the state says they're going to allow for reimbursement. It's under after agenda items 7A.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but I was just reading the Herald News article about it.
Yeah.
Number one, they said a tale of two cities, and then they compared us with a town, but that's, then again, what do you want? That's the Herald. But then it said, it's very important because you read this. Well, number one, Matthew Malone, the superintendent of schools, said this will be, quote, the jewel in the crown of this amazing city, unquote. I don't know what kind of la-la stuff he's on, but in this amazing city's got a lot of work to do. But it says the city, and you got to read it closely, because everybody ever fixates, and they like to kind of gloss over that little part of it. It's kind of like the charter. It doesn't say 80% reimbursement. It says the city is eligible for up to 80%. And that's a huge difference. And that's only on the stuff that's reimbursable. And as Council, as you said, CJ, as Councilor Steve Camara said yesterday, this is more like 63% already. So now let's say they come in and say, of the reimbursable things, we're not going to give you 80%. We're only going to give you 60%. So now that cuts that 63% figure even more, because that 63% of the 80% is based on an 80% funding for reimbursables. So, look, they're conning you. We're going to take a major hit. Taxpayers, go out, buy a giant jar of Vaseline. Get a big, big jar, because we're really going to get it on this one.
Oh, yeah.
By the time we're done, we're going to be paying $100 million out of our pocket for this school.
Well, when you think about it, they want $260 million plus or minus to build this school.
Most likely plus.
Yeah, most likely plus.
Plus. Yeah.
They've already spent $1,050,000, so okay. So it's going to be $260,000 plus or minus, and you have to vote for that.
That's right.
And they're saying, well, if you don't vote, they're using the scare tactics. If you don't vote for it, your kids won't be able to graduate high school. Your kids won't be able to go to college. Your kids won't be able, hey, guess what? Not my fault. Well, I took my kids out of the Fall River public school system because it failed so miserably.
Well, I'll tell you what, get 1580 on a SATs, you'll get into any college.
Yeah, you know, it's just...
I mean, that's crap. But you know what really disturbs me? See, we talked about it before, but we're talking about 260, probably be more. 260 million price tag. And they said in the article that you know, I've read where they said it would cost too much to rehab, yet the bill for the rehab tab is much lower, very much lower.
Right.
And it was said in front of the council.
I've heard multiple numbers, too.
We've heard multiple numbers, all much lower than a new high school. But, of course, we don't care because it's the taxpayer money, so let's do it up right. And, you know, every 40 years we can go out and rape the taxpayer again. But you know what disturbs me? Because I look over the border not too far to Rhode Island, and I see that Rhode Island has a bill in the House for $500 million to rehab every school in Rhode Island that needs rehabbing. They're managing to do their entire state.
With $500 million.
With $500 million. And I saw some video of some of those schools.
Oh, yeah.
They were in deplorable condition.
Yeah.
But they're going to do it for $500 million, do the entire state. And we're going to build a school for about 2/3 that price. So it's... How do we, are we getting the shaft? I think so, again, because guess what? He said, money is no object when it's not your money.
That's right.
And it's not their money, it's our money. So remember that, when they try to con you and scare you and, oh, the kids won't be, well, you know something, say, look, guess what? You and I can't do that. I can't go out and buy a new car every time, you know, every time my floor mats get dirty. You know, and even if I need a car, I might not be able to afford a car. So guess what? I can't buy it because I don't have the money. So I'm going to have to fix up, put Band-Aids on my car for a few years while I can save up some money. So guess what? This city is already almost $750 million in debt with bonds. You know, why don't we go for a rehab?
Well, here's the thing. Rhode Island
that would make too much sense.
No, it would. But Rhode Island's going to invest $500 million to rehab the entire state. We're going to spend $260 million, half of that, a little more than half of what Rhode Island's doing, to build one building.
That's right.
Which is going to be a joke. It's going to be another joke. And they said, oh, well, you know, Fall River should be proud. We've done 11 schools that we've redone. You've redone 11
Yeah, and
schools?
Henry Lord School is closed now, but the roof was leaking like a week after they opened the doors.
No, the Henry Lord is open. It's now it's called the Henry Lord Community
yeah, but it's
School.
not a school, though. It's technically, it's not a school.
Oh, you mean the Westall?
No, Henry Lord down about. They remember they closed that thing and they moved the students around when they were underperforming and stuff.
Right, but
like
no,
that.
now it's reopened. It's reopened.
Oh, they reopened
Yeah,
it?
it's the Henry Lord Community School now. They changed the name of it.
Community school.
Yeah, they've it's now like from 5th to 8th or 9th or something like that.
Well, that's to utilize the building, probably.
Right.
But the
But
fact
again,
is, that building was a crap. It was already showing, you know, within a month after it was open, because I went there on alarms, and they had buckets in the hallways and stuff like that.
And they still do.
They still do.
Yep. And when it gets a heavy rain, it's the floors start to sink. So
Remember, the city can't build anything, but they don't care about the price tag. We always get the highest price tag
That's
and
right.
the lowest quality of building. You know, you get a private contractor, they can build a multi-billion-dollar casino the size of a city in Las Vegas in less than a year, and it'll last for longer than our schools. And we pay for this, and like I said, there'll be leaky roofs within a week.
Well, you know, it's scary when you're looking at it. But remember, next year you're going to be asked to vote on that. So
yeah, well, we got plenty of time.
Yeah, the Rail Trail hired a lawyer. I guess the city's going to be going into a lawsuit because Joe Macy doesn't want to do it. So
it's only his job. Why should he do it?
Why should he do it? I mean, come on, get real.
That's because the city council told him to do it. Remember, he doesn't have to listen to the city council.
That's right. He doesn't have to listen to anybody.
He doesn't work for them.
Doesn't have to listen to anybody.
He works in the best interest of the city of Fall River. So I guess it's in the best interest of the citizens of Fall River to let a developer put a road through where the citizens, a road that the citizens don't want.
Right.
So that's in the best interest of the city.
Of course. Of course.
Okay. Gotcha.
That makes perfect sense. Why would you not want a road right across your rail trail?
That's right, and especially a road that was promised by the mayor. Was it going to be?
And you know, and Council Pereira made it very clear that they were not told about all of this. How come the 2013, 2014, 2015 denials from the state and from previous administrations weren't presented to the city council?
Because then they might have known.
That's right. You know, and she said it to Joe Macy. She said very clearly, you failed in your job, you'd be fired. And I think she's right. I think she's right. So, you know, this is...
But he's redefined the job. You got to give him credit for that. I mean, before we have had a lot of corporation councils, you know, and they all did the job of a corporation council. Sometimes they gave you some really ridiculous opinions that were skewed in favor of the mayor that appointed them and gave them their $100,000 a year job. But guess what? They were skewed. But they never went in front of a council and basically said that, look, I'm doing this, you know, I get to do whatever I want. I cannot give you an answer. They may give them the answer they don't like, but they gave them an answer.
Right.
Previous corporation councils realized that they worked not only for the mayor, but for the city council and the people of Fall River. They are the city's corporation council, and we understand the political nature of that job. But Joe is the first guy that has basically said, hey, I do it my way or the highway. I don't do it at all. I can tell you, the city council, I'm not doing it. Send me for something, information that I'm supposed to provide?
God forbid.
Hell no.
Well, there's that music. Tells us we're over for the day. And we'll see you on Friday for our last show before Christmas.
That's
so
right.
Stay angry and share this show with your friends. Have a great day.
And watch the hat CJ's wearing on Friday. Look out.